My mother tore my 5-year-old daughter's drawing into tiny pieces and threw it in the trash. My sister nodded and said, "Yikes, that's ugly." My daughter started crying. She'd worked so hard on that gift for Grandma. I didn't scream. I did this. 19 hours later, their lives started falling apart. Everyone has a moment they don't come back from. For some, it's betrayal. For others, loneliness. For me, a ripped drawing. By a 5-year-old. Well, plus everything else. I'm Julia. 30. MBA. Daughter of a billionaire. Wife to the most patient man alive. Mom to a little girl with eyelashes long enough to sweep the damn coastline. I work in strategy, which basically means turning my father's vague declarations into budgets, charts, and contingency plans. And every other Friday, I iron toddler jeans with bunny patches on the knees. You know, standard female role, brains, backbone, emotional airbag. We were visiting my parents for the weekend. A noble sacrifice to the illusion of family. Or, as my husband Tom put it, monthly ritual self-harm. If I'm being honest, we preferred Tom's parents. Warm house. Homemade pie. Dog who thinks Sadie hung the moon. My side. We've got a butler, a list of rules for every square foot, and a mother who used to be an actress, but now insists she was born a high society swan. No loud voices. No mugs on the couch. And definitely no calling Grandma. Grandma. It's Grand Barbara. I wish I were joking. Dad, Richard, is always busy. His Saturday schedule has more Zoom calls than a Wall Street Monday. But he's a good man. Quiet, dry, tired around the edges. And he loves me. That much I know. Then there's Vanessa. My younger sister. 22. Still lives at home. Perfect curls, lashes like spider legs, and the unshakable belief that the world exists to admire her. The evening was normal. By our standards. I was in the kitchen getting water. Mom was micromanaging the chef about the dinner menu. Some fancy leather folder was lying on the counter. Sadie ran in with her markers. "Grandma, can I draw here?" she asked, all bright eyes and hope. Mom didn't even glance at her. "Don't bother me." Flat. Like a door slamming shut. No warmth. No glance. As if a fly buzzed near her ear, and not her granddaughter speaking. Sadie stood there a second, then quietly reached into the folder for a sheet of paper. Found one. Took it to the living room to draw. The whole thing lasted 10 seconds. Mom noticed none of it. Or pretended not to. 10 minutes later, Sadie came back, glowing. I was still in the kitchen, chatting with Vanessa, who'd wandered in for coffee. "Grandma, look." Sadie beamed. "It's us. Holding hands. And here's the tree. And the grass. And the sun. Can we hang it on the fridge?" She held it out, proud as could be. Mom looked. Her face changed. Then, just like that, she crumpled the drawing, tore it in half. Again. And again. "Don't come at me with your scribbles," she snapped. She tossed the scraps in the trash like they were something filthy. Her face was odd. Annoyance. But also something darker. I still don't know what. I froze. So did Sadie. The air just vanished from the room. Then Vanessa, sipping her coffee, chimed in. "Yikes. That's ugly, kid. You need to try harder." And walked off. Sadie didn't understand. Not really. She just blinked. Once. Twice. Then her lips started to tremble. And then, snap like glass breaking. Tears. Choking sobs. She bolted. I caught up with her at the stairs. Dropped to her level. Held her. "Hey, sunshine. What happened?" "I wanted Grandma to hang it on the fridge, like my friend's grandma does, even if it's messy," she whispered through the sobs. "I tried so hard." "I know," I told her. "You did great. It's beautiful. But why did Grandma rip it up and say? She couldn't even finish. "And Auntie Vanessa." Her voice was barely a breath. "They were wrong," I said. I rubbed her back. And thought, how do they do that? How do they make a kid feel worthless in 10 seconds flat? A few minutes later, she calmed down a little. "Tom saw us." "What happened?" "Mom just remembered who she is," I said quietly. He read it in my eyes. Didn't press. Just scooped up Sadie. "Come on, builder girl. Let's finish our blanket fort. We're adding a tower and a secret passage today." I was alone again. I went back to the kitchen. To the trash. I opened the lid. There it was, her drawing. Ripped. Crumpled. A coffee stain in the corner. A tree. A sun. 2 little stick figures holding hands. One with glasses. One with a crown. Scrawled underneath in shaky letters. "Me and Baba Barba." I didn't cry. I just sat there. Holding it. Looking. No tears. Just cold. I flipped the paper over. And froze. Just for a second. That was enough. Then I carefully gathered the scraps. Folded them. Slipped them into my bag. Took a deep breath. Closed the lid. And walked out of the kitchen like nothing happened. I didn't say a word. Not to Mom. Not to Vanessa. No scene. No screaming. I just started thinking. Quietly. Very quietly. If you'd asked how I felt in that moment, I'd probably say, like someone who just realized they're holding a match. And they're standing in a pile of dry leaves. But no one asked. Sitting there in the kitchen, scraps of my daughter's drawing on my lap, it all came rushing back. Not just memories, scenes, smells, words I hadn't thought about in years. Like someone hit play on an old reel I didn't ask for. To understand how we got here, you'd have to rewind. From the outside, everything looked perfect. Magazine cover perfect. Manicured lawn. Heated pool. Private chef, driver, nanny, tutor. Even the dog had custom china bowls. No joke, Bree the poodle had her own. We lived in comfort. And I used to think that meant something. That if the outside was flawless, the inside must be too. It wasn't. Inside, it was cold. I wore glasses from first grade. Devoured books. Collected markers. Organized bookmarks by color. I was the quiet in a house that craved noise. Vanessa, my younger sister, was the opposite. Blonde, bubbly, with pouty lips she practiced in front of the mirror before she could spell her name. People looked at her. She expected it. Like breathing. Once at a birthday party, I built a model volcano. Real magnesium and dry ice, fully operational. I was proud. Mom glanced at it and said, loud enough for the room to hear, "You really think anyone cares about your paper volcano?" The next year, Vanessa showed up in a princess dress. Mom interrupted the entertainer, twice, to fix her crown and snap photos. When I was 10, I sewed a blanket for a charity fair. Mom didn't even look at it. But that same year, Vanessa doodled on a t-shirt with markers, and Mom ordered 3 more for her friends. "Such natural style," she said. At dinner, I'd talk about school projects. Mom would yawn. Vanessa described her latest dance move. Mom clapped and ordered cake. Once I started telling a story about my day, and Mom cut me off. "Sweetheart, let Vanessa speak. She always has such interesting things going on." Dad was different. When he was around, he'd sit beside me and ask what I was reading. Or open the newspaper and point to a business article. "Explain this to me like I'm your client." I'd try. I liked trying. His praise was rare, but when it came, it was real. I held on to it. But Dad was gone a lot. Building an empire. He said it was for us. Maybe it was. Mom handled the house. Or rather, the image of the house. Parties, dinners, charity auctions. Everything polished. And perfection started with Vanessa. I studied. Got into college on my own. Scholarship. Then MBA. That's when I realized I wasn't just smart. I was smart and stubborn. I came home with one goal, to work for Dad's company. He resisted at first, but after a year he gave me a project. Then another. Now I'm his right hand. I know our numbers better than some people know their own kids' birthdays. I wasn't trying to prove myself to them. I was trying to prove it to me. And maybe to him. Vanessa's still here. Same bedroom, same canopy bed. Wearing $300 pajamas. Talking about new stylists and energy cleanses. Mom adores her. Calls her intuitively delicate. To me once she said, "You know, Julia, you could use a little more lightness. You're always so controlled." This from a woman who straightens throw pillows with a ruler. And okay, she's not wrong. I do need control. Because if I let go, everything unravels. And I'm good at holding things together. I used to think that's how the world worked. Some people shine. Others keep the stage from collapsing. That used to be enough for me. Until I saw my daughter cry. Until I saw that look on her face. The same one I used to wear. But I'm not a child anymore. And this time, I knew what to do. I didn't sleep that night. It wasn't anxiety. It was more like the silence after an explosion. When your ears are ringing and you have no idea what just hit you. Tom fell asleep fast. Sadie too. Everything was peaceful. Too peaceful for what I had stashed in my bag. I waited until the house was still, then took it out. The drawing. Torn, crumpled, stained. I spread it out on the guest room desk and started taping it back together. Slowly, carefully, like I was restoring a lost artifact. There it was. Grass. Sunday. A house. 2 stick figures holding hands like a little human bridge. Sadie and her grandma. In the corner. Me and Baba Barba. Misspelled but proud. And only after it was whole again, I flipped it over. Text. Handwritten. Her handwriting. My mother's. Fine pen. Slight tremor in the line. Dated 4 days ago. I read it slowly. Not because it was hard, but because I wanted to be sure I understood every word. I never loved him. He's convenient. Boring. Reliable like old furniture. Everything proper, everything scheduled. George is different. When he looks at me, I still feel it. I know Vanessa is his. And I'm not ashamed. She's my joy. If it weren't for the money, I'd have left long ago. Julia. Julia is a copy of Richard. Everything in order, on time, in a box. A bore. Even as a child. Sometimes I look at her and remember how much I hate everything about him. Everything, except the money. I don't owe them love. Not any of them. I read it twice. Then closed my eyes. It wasn't a revelation. It was a confirmation. Like you've suspected there's a leak in the ceiling your whole life. And now you're staring at a gaping hole. Rotted all the way through. It all clicked. Why she never liked me. Why everything revolved around Vanessa. Why I was always the odd piece in the puzzle. I was a replica of the man she settled for. A walking reminder of a life she regretted, even if she chose it herself. And Vanessa? Vanessa was her choice. From the man she actually wanted. Even if he was the gardener. Even if she lied about it every day since. George. I knew who she meant. Our gardener. Still here. Quiet, gray, with hands like roots and a gaze that never lingers but sees everything. He's always had a strange immunity in this house. Never got blamed when the roses didn't bloom. Mom would spend hours tending the garden, chatting with him. Supposedly about tulips. He was always gentle with Vanessa. I remembered him handing her a water bottle when she ran across the lawn. Smiling as she built forts from patio chairs. Back then I thought he was just kind. Now I don't know. And as I stared at that paper, I felt something surprising. Not pain. Not even anger. Pity. For my father. Not for me. For him. He didn't know. Maybe never even suspected. I folded the pieces carefully and slid them back into my bag. Closed my eyes. Got maybe 30 minutes of sleep. The next morning, Sadie was the first one up. I heard her little feet padding down the hallway, then her whisper. Mom! I'm here, honey. She crawled into my lap, still warm from sleep. Did you find my drawing? I did. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. And for once, that wasn't just a mom lie. Did you keep it? Of course. I put it in a special box. With all the important things. That's where it belongs. She nodded, satisfied. Then leaned in, whispering. It smelled like perfume, remember? I nodded. My heart froze for a second. Do you remember where you found it? She thought for a beat. The paper? It was by Grandma. In that folder on the table. It was so smooth. And smelled nice. I thought it was pretty. So I used it. I nodded again. I'd seen it happen. Just needed to be sure. You did great, baby. Exactly right. She smiled. And believed me. Because when you say something with confidence, kids believe you. I walked her to the kitchen, where Tom was burning toast with heroic commitment. The toast was black, but Sadie was laughing, and that was all I needed right then. My father was in his office. Big leather chair. Shelves full of books and antique globes. Same office where he used to make me read financial headlines out loud when I was 10. He looked up from his laptop. Good morning. Everything okay? Can I talk to you for a minute? He knew. Didn't ask questions. Just closed the laptop and nodded. I walked over. Pulled the page from my bag. Unfolded it. Laid it on his desk. Right next to his Mont Blanc. He stared at it. 1 minute. Maybe 2. I didn't say a word. Then he read it again. Still silent. But his face was shifting. Slowly. Like someone realizing their entire life was not what they thought. George. That's all he said. George. The gardener? I nodded. I think so. He leaned back. Pressed his fingertips to his temples. Long silence. Where did you get this? Accident. Sadie used it for her drawing. I gave him the short version. He closed his eyes. Then looked at the page again. His hand was shaking. Not much. But I saw it. You know, he said, voice rough. I always knew Barbara was complicated. But I thought we had something real. Something. He didn't cry. My father isn't the crying type. But I saw him exhale, like decades of air leaving his body all at once. I'm sorry, I said. Even though I didn't need to be. But I had to say something. No, Julia. Thank you. You're the first person who. He didn't finish. He folded the page. Deliberate. Precise. I understand everything now. And I looked at him. And something inside me shifted. Like a splinter that had been lodged under the skin for years. Finally worked its way out. It hurt. But I could breathe again. We sat in silence. He held the page in both hands, and his hands were still shaking. 3 days after I showed my dad the drawing, he texted me. Home by 7. Can you come by? Short. Direct. Classic him. In our family, emotions are measured in milligrams. Especially now. He met me on the front porch himself. No assistant, no, he's in a meeting, can you wait? Just opened the door and said, come in. There was a box on the desk. Plain cardboard, the kind we used for storing archived reports. I recognized it from our old file room. He opened it, took out a single sheet, handed it to me. DNA test results. All official, stamped, notarized, formatted in cold fonts. And then, the only line that really mattered. Probability of biological paternity, 0%. I didn't say anything. Neither did he. He just sank into his chair, leaned back, closed his eyes. A few seconds passed. Then he opened them again. You know, he said quietly, I always hoped there was at least something real between us. I had my suspicions. Vanessa never looked like me. But I thought, if I just chose not to see it, if I focused on building the family anyway, maybe it would become true. But how long can you lie to yourself? I had no answer. I just sat next to him. We said nothing. For 10 full minutes. And it was enough. Then the storm came. 2 days later, Barbara was served. Divorce papers. Plain. Clinical. A copy sent to the lawyers. She came to our house like a hurricane. No knocking. No permission. Just rage in high heels. This is your fault, she shouted full telenovela. You turned him against me. You always hated me. You've been jealous of Vanessa your whole life. I saw the way you looked at her. This is your revenge. I stood up slowly. Calm. The kind of calm you get when the elevator hits the basement and the doors are about to open on a whole new floor of your life. You lied to him for decades, I said. Used him. Lived off him. Looked down on him the whole time. She froze. Like she didn't expect me to speak. But I was done staying quiet. And you erased me, I went on. Just because I looked like him. You didn't just ignore me. You punished me for being his daughter. And you adored Vanessa, because she reminded you of the man you chose. You know what's really terrifying? You think all of that is normal. She turned pale. And then came the shouting. About betrayal. About family. About money. About how I'd destroyed everything. Next came Vanessa. She staged her meltdown halfway down the staircase, wrapped in pistachio-colored silk, eyes brimming with designer grief. You ruined everything, she cried. He won't even look at me. He said I'm nothing to him. You did this. You made him erase me. I looked at her calmly. I didn't erase you. I just showed him what someone else wrote. It would have been funny if it didn't hurt so damn much. Dad didn't yell. Didn't make scenes. He met with Barbara in a lawyer's office. Laid it out point by point. You'll get an apartment, he said. 1. Modest but livable. You'll receive alimony. The minimum required under the prenup. You waive all rights to the company, the assets, and the estate. Barbara pressed her lips together. You don't have the right, she hissed. I'm the mother of your children. I can go to the press. I can write a book. You think no one will publish me? You think I won't tell the world what you're really like? Dad didn't even blink. Try me, he said. I've got enough lawyers to make sure you lose even that apartment. You'll be out on the street. Not out of spite. Just justice. She left. No drama. No slammed doors. Just left. Like someone realizing for the first time that no one's afraid of her anymore. As for Vanessa, they spoke privately. I wasn't there. But later, Dad told me. I told her I don't blame her. She didn't choose how she was born. But she's an adult now. And actions have consequences. He gave her one payout. $100,000. For the name. For the years. For the silence. Conditional on signing a non-disclosure agreement. And a final line, no contact. No calls. No visits. No climbing back in. Think she'll take it? I asked. She already did, he said. She left. Miami maybe. Or Bali. Doesn't matter. I didn't feel joy. It felt more like cleaning up after a fire. You sort through the mess. See what's salvageable. And what's just ash. Dad rewrote the will. The new version had only 2 names, mine and Sadie's. The company? Officially mine now. No ceremony. No grand gestures. Just, you're already running it, he said. Now it's formal. And now here we are. A house. Our house. Quiet. Safe. Smells like cinnamon. Sadie is sitting on the floor, drawing again. This time on thick, glossy paper from the sketchpad Tom bought her. Mom, she says. Where's Grandma Barbara now? I look at her. Her face is open. calm. No trace of fear. Far away, I say. Will Grandma Kathy come tomorrow? I smile. Of course. She's bringing cinnamon pie. Tom walks in and wraps his arms around me. You know, he says, my mom says you're like a daughter to her now. She says Sadie's lucky to have you. I nod. My throat tightens just a little, but this time it feels good. Sadie knows she's loved, and I know that knowing, that certainty, is the most important thing I could ever give her. Thanks for staying with me through all of this. I know, it wasn't all black and white. Maybe I went too far. Or maybe I finally went far enough. Tell me what you think. What would you have done? And if this story resonated with you, hit subscribe.